what does a healthy economy look like? What does a healthy community look like? And I think that's something we don't necessarily visualize all that often. My name's Will Reddick, or Baba Nia. I am the founder of Grassroots Economics Foundation. And I hold kind of the space around the vision in economic commons and community inclusion currencies.
My name is Jambi Jeroge. I work for Grassroots Economics Foundation. I am the Director of Operations, so mine majorly is to offer support to the different departments in this organization, and majorly the fund support team as they help communities create their financial instruments for the economic empowerment.
Community inclusion currencies are a product of a financial instrument that's created by a commons or a community that comes together to share their resources together, and they're creating a voucher or a credit obligation that represents their committed goods and services with each other. So just like you have airtime credit, right? That's credit redeemable for a service from the telecom, or a bus ticket is redeemable for a bus ride, right? So they're creating a voucher redeemable for a group of services generally, or a mutual credit amongst themselves. And when that starts to flow, like an invoice moving around the community, it starts to act as a medium of exchange. And in that sense, it can act like a currency. It can be inclusive. It can grow out into the community around it. And it can sort of define, in some ways, a type of a community that's there to share amongst each other. Mostly we work with communities around games. So first is a lot of resource mapping. So they'll look at their community and they'll say, well, what goods and services do we offer each other? And we do a lot of exercises to sort of represent that as an uteo. This is a winnowing basket. And when there's a lot of goods and services, these rice in this case, or beans, can represent the goods and services of the community. And so they're creating an amount of these relative to their ability to actually provide those services. So we work with them to basically audit their current resources, and we work with the village elders and assistant chiefs and chiefs to also audit and verify that there are tomatoes and school fees and haircuts and whatnot behind that, the commitments to them are real. And then we create these credit obligations with the community, and they're distributed out to the community members holding the basket here, or the washikadao, the stakeholders. And they can begin to trade that amongst themselves. And so in one way, it's just facilitating offers and wants to connect with each other. So when there's no national currency, or when national currency is really low, this fills a gap in that group. And then they can also take these and offer them, just like an airtime credit would be offered, or a bus ticket would be offered, outside to the community, and say, would you over here help us with our community garden? And in return, you can use these back for the vegetables from the community garden or other goods and services among us.
one thing to note is that these people really want liberation. They want to be helped. So whenever they see people coming in and wanting to help, they want to listen. So what we do, we use games, we use practicals. Like when we first start, we stand up, we hold hands, we ask them to look at the neighbor as they hold hands. Then you ask yourself, what do you have to offer this neighbor? Then what does the neighbor have to offer you? Then they sit down knowing, I have this service, I have this good that can help my neighbor, and my neighbor has this that can help me. Now let's sit down. Then you tell them, let us think of all the resources in our community. We're going to start with the resources in our group. Let's think, what can you offer? Then we write down all the goods and all the services that they have in the community. And then now we note the gaps. What can we do to bridge this gap? So that is what now we try to help them realize that, you know what, you have the power in your hands, you can create your own vouchers to help trade to one another. Then you do a market. They trade like a sort of a practical, and then they sit down knowing, oh, kumbe, it's possible. People can actually trade with one another, Then after that, we do like a thread game. Okay, so a thread game is where I hold one end of the thread, then I say, I offer milk, but I'm looking for water. So someone says, oh, I have water, I have a borehole in my house. I threw that thread to that person. Then that person is asked, what can you offer? What do you need from our community? Like, I need flour. Then one person in the group says, oh, in fact, I have maize. You can come for the maize. You can take it to the mills, portion meal. Then you throw to that person. And at the end of the day, they have created this really beautiful network. And now they go home knowing that they can help one another, they can benefit from one another.
Any sort of bilateral agreements and contract really are technology. So the technology on how we come up with those agreements, you can use what we call a distributed or decentralized ledger system. So the ledger can hold the agreement. And so when we will sometimes use the term blockchain, but really it's just a distributed ledger that's holding legal credit obligations, legal instruments. And that ledger is where we can record the movement of them as well, right? So if I want to send some to you, I can use my phone, right? And we've connected that ledger system into the local telecoms, right? So you don't need internet necessarily. You can actually use the telecom over SMS or USSD and connect to that ledger. It's an efficient way to record them because it means that if like us as an organization or anyone would have maybe held the ledger were to vanish, the ledger can keep existing. So to have it distributed means that any one actor or even majority of the actors can actually disappear and the ledger will continue, right? So there's longevity. There's also immutability. So the ability to be certain or trusting that no one's manipulating the ledger. So there's a track record. Generally, the national currency is sort of how we measure value, relative value of things. So the value of the CIC or the voucher is based on an actual good or service, like this one equals a banana, But the market rate, we all know, like a banana is 10 bob, for instance. And so that gives a common value to these. So they're not backed by Kenyan shillings, they're backed by an actual service with a market rate. And those market rates can change over time and whatnot, but the idea is that it's a stable credit against an actual good or service. In terms of the concept of people understanding the power of divesting from national currency and investing into the utility of communities. Really understanding that is what's happening in like World Food Program, where they will come in and say, we see the services of that community. Can we invest into making more service? Can we grow this basket? Can we help them to create more vouchers so that they can actually build a stronger community? And then can we use some of these vouchers now to support even more needy refugees, for instance, outside the community? And can we create that circuit, that flow, such that these guys outside here are also able to provide services? So that idea of investing into the utility of a community And letting that utility flow, these vouchers circulate in and out of that community is really powerful. We've always been able to create credit instruments based on trust between individuals and groups. And it's only in the recent history that the ability to create credit has been monopolized by the state and the banking industry. And so to decentralize or distribute the ability to create credit is what we're trying to empower communities. And so rather than giving them access to finance in the form of banks, we're helping them to create their own finance.